Supreme leader of Iran has authorized a strike against Israel, promised to be significantly larger than the failed April drone attack against Israel. In fact, this attack could be so large that it not only lasts multiple days, but turns into a complete war of attrition against Israel and, as Foreign Affairs puts it, result in a, quote, full-blown war that will include unprecedented damage to civilian populations and national infrastructure inside of Israel. Yikes. In this video, I'm going to start by explaining why all of a sudden Iran is as upset as it is, why the United States is moving new carrier strike groups into the region to potentially aid in defending against an Iranian attack, and we'll talk about what this means for the broader region, the economy in general, and even to some extent, Bitcoin. Yeah, because at least at the time of this recording, Bitcoin has been plummeting for the last hours here. We can see we peaked out at just over 70,000 right as Donald Trump was taking the stage at the Bitcoin conference. And since then, it's been straight down. And we've really been hitting these lines, which we regularly talk about in our course member live streams. But enough of that for now. What's most important is, why is this happening? Let's give you a quick rundown. So you may have already heard of the Hanani attack. This is, we went live on this. We made a whole video on this, already breaking this down. But basically, the political leader of Hamas, who was responsible for negotiating with Israel to come up with a solution, well, he got killed. He got killed in Tehran, Iran. And why is that a problem? Well, it's really embarrassing. In fact, they covered up, Iran covered up the news of this attack for quite a few hours until they could have an emergency Security Council meeting to discuss how to announce that the attack happened. The attack occurred at roughly 2 a.m., and Iran initially said that they were struck by a short-range projectile. But reports coming through the Times of Israel, the New York Times, and other sources suggest no, there was actually potentially a bomb placed inside of this heavily armored military compound, which has radar defenses, anti-aircraft defenses, and bulletproof windows. That a bomb was snuck into this military compound to kill the leader of Hamas. That bomb may have been planted as much as 2 months before the leader of Hamas came to stay for the inauguration of the new Iranian president. Now, that's a really big deal because it's extremely embarrassing to the Iranians. It's so embarrassing that immediately after this happened, they arrested 24 senior intelligence officers, military officials, and staff workers at that military-run guest house. That's because some were alleging Mossad agents, that's Israel's spy agency, potentially bribed, paid off, or coordinated with Iranian Revolutionary Guard soldiers tasked with protecting that very facility. So massive embarrassment. And now, after this attack in the capital of Iran, the Ayatollah of Iran has suggested, he has said that Iran is authorized to strike directly against Israel. And the previous April attack was just an appetizer of what's to come. This is a really big issue. Now, some suspect, including Thomas L. Fredman, who's a columnist over at the Times, though a lot of people dispute this individual, especially since a lot of people see this as someone who's very much one-sided. But anyway, Thomas L. Fredman wrote an opinion piece in the New York Times today. In fact, I have it right here. Okay, Thomas L. Fredman wrote in this piece that there's actually a possibility that Israel purposefully targeted this leader of Hamas, knowing that it would throw off ceasefire negotiations, intentionally be designed to prolong the war effort so that the United States would finally and fully get drug in this war, so that the United States helps actually secure a massive buffer zone around Israel on behalf of Israel. say if you drag the United States into an all-out war with Iran, and then all of the Iranian proxies get together, you're going to have the United States support Israel, because otherwise Israel will get wiped out. Now you might think, oh, come on, Israel's really, really strong. How could they potentially get wiped out? Don't be so hyperbolic, Kevin. Look, Israel did great against Hamas, but even just Hezbollah is many times stronger than Hamas, and that's something to really understand. Hezbollah's weapons stockpile alone is 7 times as large as Hamas's. They're expected to have somewhere between 130 to 140,000 rockets and missiles. Israel tried to fight Hezbollah in Lebanon in 2006, and while Israel killed hundreds of Hezbollahs, let's just put it this way. After 34 days of fighting, the fight was over, and neither side was happy with the progress that was made. Now, that 34-day ceasefire ended with Hezbollah suggesting, hey, look, we'll keep a buffer. We'll stay above the Litani River. The Litani River is about 10 miles north of Israel. We'll stay above here. We won't go below it. Let's just keep our peace. That'll be the buffer, okay? We'll go away. Just the Lebanese army will be in between this. Well, even those bets are off now because Hezbollah is now arming militants in that 10-mile buffer zone, and they're trying to retake 20 military outposts that exist in that buffer zone. This is why Israel is now evacuating tens of thousands of Israelis along that northern border of Israel, because Hezbollah's really strong. You may have seen some videos on social media of like 50 rockets coming over from Hezbollah to prod the Iron Dome system in Israel. That is like the appetizer of appetizers. Hezbollah has the capacity of potentially sending 3,000 rockets per day for as long as 2 to 3 months if they wanted to have that sort of bombardment for as long as that time frame, with that same sort of munition power coming every single day. There's no way Israel can afford, let alone arm themselves to defend against those sorts of strikes without the United States' help. This is why the United States is now sending a new carrier strike group with fighter squadron and more warships to the Middle East. The Lincoln Strike Group has just been redirected over there. This is also known as Carrier Strike Group 3. It's a USS Abraham Lincoln, well, basically aircraft carrier. It's nuclear-powered, nuclear class, and it'll be surrounded, of course, by destroyers, part of Desrun 21. It's a particular squadron, as well as guided missile cruisers, one specifically called USS Mobile Bay CG-53. And they're moving this fleet into the area to sit in the area in coordination with the USS Theodore Roosevelt, which is another aircraft carrier already in the region. Now, the story is that they're just replacing the Theodore Roosevelt because their deployment is near completion. But my guess is over the next few weeks, you'll actually have both strike groups in the area. So you'll have an overlapping for a while because things are about to hit the frickin' fan, and Hezbollah is substantially stronger than Hamas. But not only is Hezbollah stronger than Hamas, but you have to consider the entire axis of resistance. The axis of resistance, which are Shia Muslims. Quick note, there's Shia or Shiite, as some like to say, Muslim. It's a sect of Islam. And then there are Sunni Muslims. And what's worth remembering is Al-Qaeda is Sunni, and the axis of resistance is Shia. This is going to be specific militant groups in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Palestine, Iran, the Islamic resistance in Bahrain. This is a really, really powerful group. And this isn't to say that they really stand a substantial chance against the United States. It's just simply to say that without the United States, Israel is screwed against that kind of group. And now, of course, we have bet our undying support for Israel, and so have countries like the United Kingdom. This is a big problem because the real risk here is that we end up having a substantial attack against Israel, which will drag the United States and the United Kingdom into the war more so than they have already. Instead of just defensive purposes, you might end up getting a complete Israeli counterattack into Lebanon, which could then spread out to more attacks against Iran. And that is when you potentially start getting direct attacks of the United States and the United Kingdom on offensive or preemptive strikes to minimize further attacks from Iran and Hezbollah. That essentially risks pulling Russia and China into the war, maybe on the behest of Iran. And that's how you get World War III. Now, again, we don't want that to happen. Nobody wants that to happen. The problem is we are expecting a strike against Israel within the next 24 hours, so things are about to hit the fan. So much so that Lebanon is now on the do not travel list, just changed the do not travel list for countries like France, the United States, Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom. Saudi Arabia joined the list as well. France is going as far as recommending that citizens leave Iran as soon as possible, and the United States has issued a notice that all embassy officials should immediately take any available travel out of Lebanon. They go as far as saying, even if the flights aren't going where you're trying to go, take whatever frickin' flight you can, get your frickin' butt out of there right now. There are videos on social media now of people flooding the international airport in Beirut, Lebanon, because people want out. They know what's coming. This is scary. Israelis are literally stocking up at supermarkets because they are worried. This is so bad that Israel realizes they might have to prioritize the Iron Dome for infrastructure, like water, power, and things like that, and military installations. But that means Israelis themselves are unfortunately going to be left to taking shelter in bomb shelters and not in their homes because the Iron Dome might not be enough to defend against what is about to come. Now, it's also worth remembering that the Iron Dome is not just one system. It is actually a collection of multiple different systems that we just sort of colloquially call the Iron Dome. But there are a lot of pieces of the Iron Dome, and they're extremely expensive. But anyway, Reuters actually had a fantastic image of what the Iron Dome looks like and sort of how it's used. And so I'll go ahead and throw that up on screen here in just a moment. Here we go. So take a look at this. You've got your Iron Dome, which is really designed for shorter range rockets. These are really the rockets that are shot off the back of pickup trucks or shoulder-mounted rockets. And it's also useful to just remember quickly the difference between a rocket and a missile. A rocket is something that is rocket propelled and sort of is guided by the launching unit, which could be like the shoulder-mounted launching unit. It could be the launching unit on the back of a truck. It could be a mobile installation that gets trailered into a position. But a rocket is just basically any kind of rocket that is only guided by the actual launching container, and then it gets pointed into a direction and goes. A missile actually is a rocket as well, but it has its own guidance system. So for this, think about like a shoulder-mounted javelin, for example, like an anti-tank weapon, where when you launch it, the rocket comes out. It is a rocket, because it's rocket propelled, but what actually classifies it as a missile is that the head has its own guidance system, its own laser guided guidance system, and it can seek out a target and make its own decision about where to go. So it's not just where you point it. Theoretically, you could be locked on and point slightly in the wrong direction, and the missile will guide itself to where it needs to go. That's the difference between a rocket and a missile. Just small little detail here. I know a lot of people wonder about that sort of stuff, so I thought I'd mention it. But anyway, David's Sling is more of your medium-range defense system. Then you have Arrow 2, which is for your ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles are really interesting. They're basically rockets that have a guidance system, but so they can guide themselves, therefore they're missiles. But the rocket actually stops fueling the missile at some point, and the point is that once you get to sort of peak height, the rest of the flight path is just basically the missile falling. And so it follows a sort of arc trajectory. This is not to be confused with now a cruise missile, which is like a jet-powered bomb that can guide itself all the way to the target and be fueled all of the way. There's so many little details here. But anyway, the Arrow 3 system will actually intercept missiles in space, and Arrow 2 can as well, though usually you see Arrow 2 more in atmospheric regions, whereas Arrow 3 will focus on space. Anyway, the point is, these systems are extremely expensive. A Tamir missile, which you'd use for short-range rockets, rocket which might cost $2,000 or $3,000, each Tamir missile loaded into the Iron Dome costs 50 grand, so you're already paying 20x the cost. You want to intercept some of these larger missiles, these ballistic missiles, you could be spending $2 million per missile you need to intercept. And this isn't even to include drones like the drone that just hit Tel Aviv, the apartment building. There is a lot that you have to defend against here, and this is why you have U.S. Air Forces involved. This is bad. So anyway, we expect that there could be an attack as soon as the Israeli night of Monday morning, basically. So right now it is about 10:34 p.m. Sunday evening in Israel at the time of this recording. So within potentially the next 6 to 7 hours, this attack could occur, or it'll be saved for the next Monday evening, so give it another 12 to 18 hours thereafter. We'll see. Again, we hope not. But remember, Iran is really powerful, especially with those northern neighbors of Israel, Lebanon and Syria, both of them. They are seen as imperialist allies of Iran. Both of them held like a 3-day mourning period for the death of the Iranian leader, which is weird. Like, a leader dies in one country and another country is mourning. That's usually sort of like, when you're under the control of England and the Queen dies, everybody else is supposed to mourn as well. But that's imperialism, right? This is basically what you have with Iran. So very strong nuclear power, and the United States could get involved to the extent of finally eradicating the Iranian threat and their nuclear enrichment program. It's just scary, though, because you don't want it to evolve into an all-out World War III, and it could be one of the reasons that you're seeing markets react skittishly. Now, obviously, there are also concerns about Japan and the carry trade and what implications that is having on the stock market, the treasuries market, Bitcoin, whatever, liquidations, margin calls, you name it. Usually, though, you tend to see that markets react to a confluence of issues, overvaluations in markets, geopolitical fears, margin calls in Japan, whatever. But the point is, widely, the purpose of this video is to say that an Iranian strike is very highly likely to come to Israel very, very soon. It's very scary because we do not want it to escalate into a World War III, and it is now expected to be worse than the attack that we saw in April. In addition to this, you also have reportedly now potentially 150,000 Israelis who are unable to get into Israel because of all of the cancellations of flights because of the expected war to break out within the next hours, frankly, but certainly within the next day here. At the same time, you have reportedly Iran rejecting all warnings from the United States that there will be consequences, and that Israel is now preparing for a multi-day missile onslaught from the Axis, and that Iran is not backing down. That basically a red line was crossed by attacking a military compound in Iran, and things are about to get worse. It is currently being reported by Bloomberg that the Iranian attack is imminent, and it is again expected to come from Iran and Hezbollah and the Houthis. So that would be the north, the northeast, and the south. So anyway, I wish everyone the best. I really hope there could be a minimization of the loss of lives. Hezbollah has previously stated that they will not attack civilians. However, and unfortunately, after this latest attack by Israel in the capital of Iran, it is expected, based on statements made by Hezbollah, that now all boundaries are off. Civilians are now a target in Israel as well. Well, folks, if you appreciate my content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're about 1,000 subscribers away from 2 million. If you hit that subscribe button now, there's a chance you could be the 2 millionth subscriber of the channel. And I hope to see you there. Thank you so very much for being a member of the channel. Quick note for anybody actually still watching this, I will put a link in the top of the description at the bottom to my Discord channel where I've made a channel for Iran and Israel. So if you want to join to talk about Gaza, Iran, Israel, that is going to be in the Meet Kevin General channel, and it is public and free for anybody to join. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, stay safe, and good luck. These things that you told us here, I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.